A former Queens barber was sentenced in a grisly 1976 dismemberment slaying of a World War I veteran. On December 10, 1976, George Clarence Seitz was reported missing. He left his home in Jamaica, New York, to go to a barber shop on 161st Street, 2 days before his 82nd birthday. Despite their best efforts, the detectives could not make an arrest, and the case went cold. 43 years later, in March 2019, the New York Police Department detectives received a tip. A tipster called the detectives claiming that when she was 11, she witnessed, among other things, her stepfather burying black garbage bags in the backyard. Assistant District Attorney Karen Ross said she saw him feeding what she believed were body parts to the dog. On March 12th, partial remains, consisting of a pelvis and partial torso, were discovered buried under concrete in the backyard of a home in Richmond Hill, Queens. Neighbors on the quiet residential block were stunned by the discovery when the police investigators and a police dog descended on the 115th Street property. John Guido, who had lived on the street for 40 years, said that the home had been a rental property through the 1970s and had attracted really bad guys. A DNA profile retrieved from the remains could not identify the deceased man at the time in local, state, or national databases. Continuing, the Queens District Attorney's Office and the NYPD sought the assistance of Othram and the FBI to generate leads to the unknown victim's identity. In February 2021, Othram Laboratories produced a comprehensive genealogical profile from the skeletal remains using advanced DNA testing. The investigators began to contact potential family members and then identified the remains as George Seitz. An extensive investigation by the NYPD and the Queens DA's office included multiple interviews of witnesses and extensive records, searches through 5 states and various agencies. This led to the identification of the perpetrator. In 2021, Maryann Bagenstose, whom was 29 years old at the time of the crime, was arrested at a home in Queens. He was a barber at the barbershop George visited the day of his demise. Ross said, instead of getting a haircut, he got robbed, slain, dismembered, and buried in a backyard where nobody would find him for 45 years. Mata stabbed George in the head and took upwards of $8,000 from him. George was known to carry large sums of cash. Ross said, he threw the head in the garbage and scattered the arms and legs across Queens. For decades, Mata continued about his life, got married, and had kids. The prosecutors said that he kept that family quiet with threats. Ross said, he would say, "Do you want to end up like the guy in the backyard?" and run his finger across the neck. In October 2022, Mata took a deal and pled guilty. He gave no apology in court, but he admitted to all of it. Russell Rothberg, Mata's attorney, said he is remorseful. At the sentencing, George's niece, Gertrude Jones, gave a victim impact statement. She said, "My mother passed away never knowing what had happened to her brother." On November 7th, the disgusted judge, Judge Kenneth C. Holder, sentenced an emotionless 75-year-old Maryann Mata to 20 years behind bars. The judge said, "I hope they are hard, terrible years." George's niece, Gertrude, said, "My hope is each day you spend in prison, you will think of your evil actions, the suffering my uncle must have endured." Mata's son was visibly upset in court and later said that his father never told him about any of this. Daniel Mata said, "They got their justice. I'm okay with it too, you know." George was finally given a proper military burial. Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz said, "Today, justice is served a few days before Veterans Day. This cold case is closed, but the loss remains." A DNA test has reunited a Texas woman with her long-lost family and ended a mystery that lasted over 50 years. In 1971, Melissa Highsmith's mother, Alta Apantenko, put an advertisement in the local paper searching for a babysitter. She had just separated from Melissa's father and moved to Fort Worth, Texas. A woman who called herself Ruth Johnson answered the ad and agreed to meet Melissa's mom at the restaurant where she worked, but she never showed up. The babysitter called the mother later, saying she really wanted the job, had a nice big yard, and cared for other children as well. Melissa's mother hired her, and the babysitter picked Melissa up from Alta's roommate at their apartment on East Seminary Drive when Alta was at work. On August 23, 1971, at just 21 months old, Melissa was abducted from her home by Ruth, who responded to the ad, posing as a babysitter. 2 weeks after Melissa was taken, Alta published a plea to her kidnapper on the front page of the Star-Telegram. She wrote, "I beg of you to call me. I have been going out of my mind." The family continued to keep their missing relative in their hearts, throwing birthday parties for her each year after her disappearance. But unfortunately, the case went cold. In November 2022, 51 years later, Melissa's biological father, 73-year-old Jeffrey Highsmith, took a 23andMe DNA test and received his results. He found a connection between himself and one of Melissa's 3 children. After realizing this, Jeffrey's children confirmed that Melissa was the long-lost sister they spent their entire lives searching for. Melissa grew up as Melanie Walden Miyoko. The siblings Melissa never knew, Rebecca, 48, Victoria, 47, Sharon, 45, and Jeff, 42, messaged her through Facebook to get into contact with their sister, who they never gave up hope of finding. At first, she could not believe what she was reading. 53-year-old Melissa recalled thinking, "They think I am their sister. Oh, this is a scam." The family said that their mother was hesitant to submit more DNA since she had done DNA tests with 6 different women throughout the years, and they all came back negative. Victoria Highsmith, Melissa's sister, said, "Every time my mother got her hopes up, after 51 years, she did not want to submit another DNA test. She was tired and she was hurt and guilty from carrying this all these years. I am thankful that we got her to agree to submit her DNA. It is because of that, and my dad submitting, that we were able to find Melissa." Growing up, Melissa, who has decided to go by her birth name, says something always felt off. She lived a sheltered childhood, which was different from the 2 brothers she grew up with, and the relationship she had with the woman who claimed to be her mom was riddled with trouble and hardship, compelling her to run away at the age of 15. 38 years later, she learned why their relationship was so difficult. She was not actually her mother, or related to her at all. Melissa said, "Me and my mom were never close, and the whole time I was there, it was a bad childhood. I was not allowed to go outside and play, or she always sheltered me. And she said the reason she sheltered me was because I was born at home and that I had brain damage." Melissa learned that her real family had been searching for her for the last 51 years after she was kidnapped at 21 months old. Melissa believes that her abductor was the woman who went on to raise her, just 10 minutes away from where she was taken. Melissa recalls her rocky upbringing. "It started to make sense. All of the stuff that I had wondered when I was little. Why is my mom like this? Why is she like this? I just thought she had 2 boys and she had me. And maybe she did not want a little girl. Maybe she wished that I was born a boy, and I used to wonder, why did she even have me if she did not want me?" Naturally, she questioned her entire upbringing and asked the woman who raised her if she recognized the name Melissa Highsmith via Facebook Messenger. The woman denied knowing the name, but then came up with an alternate response. Melissa explained, "That is when she said, 'I have been wanting to tell you something for many, many years.' She told me that somebody sold me to her for $500 on the street." Melissa says she does not buy that story. Melissa has not seen the woman since 2002, but after the shocking conversation, she says she immediately cut all social media ties with her and blocked her on Facebook. She says, "In my heart, I do not believe she bought me. I think she was the one that answered the ad and abducted me. Everything that I had known before the age of 15, before I left home, was a lie." After learning that she had a pair of loving parents and 4 devoted siblings who never gave up the arduous search for her, she is looking ahead toward the future. Melissa said, "It makes me feel very blessed. There is a time for everything. It just was not my time, but now it is. And God made this all possible. Melissa said that for her entire life, she believed her birthday was February 2nd, but it is actually November 6th. She and her husband have decided that every February 2nd, they will celebrate the end of Melanie. Melissa reunited with her parents and two of her four siblings for the first time on the weekend after Thanksgiving in 2022. Melissa's sister Victoria wrote in a Facebook post, "I could not stop crying. I was overjoyed and I am still walking around in a fog, trying to comprehend that my sister is right in front of me and that we found her." Melissa's sisters said that she plans to redo her wedding to her current husband so that her biological father can walk her down the aisle. Melissa said, "My heart right now is just full and bursting with just much emotion. I am just really, really happy." The statute of limitations has passed to file a kidnapping charge in Texas. In May 2023, Melissa's name was officially changed from Melanie to Melissa after the DNA tests confirmed the relation. John Brown, Melissa's husband, posted about the emotional proceeding on Facebook. He wrote, "My breathtaking wife and an amazing woman has officially been given her identity back as Melissa Highsmith. She is an inspiration to all and a beacon of hope to many. We want to thank the Lord for this great work that He has done by reuniting Melissa Highsmith back to the Highsmith family." The remains of a man missing for nearly 40 years was finally found in an Alabama river. On April 16, 1983, 25-year-old Alan Livingston, a worker at the now-closed Goodyear plant in Alabama, was reported missing by a friend when he did not show up for work. He was last seen driving a brown 1980 Ford Bronco the night he disappeared. The officials thought there was a possibility they might have located Alan's missing Ford in the Coosa River when a sonar unit showed an object in the water. The magnets used by the Etowah County Rescue Quad showed that the item was metal. The divers spent hours in the water before calling off the search. 2 months later, in 1983, a man was picked up in Arkansas on suspicion of ending a life in Texas. The suspect, William Roth, confessed to the slaying and was asked if he had done anything like that before. Detective Sergeant Eric Phillips said, "Just matter of fact, he said yes in Gadsden, Alabama." Phillips said that Roth told them he met Allen when both frequented Players Lounge, then a Gadsden night spot, and other bars or lounges in the area. At the time, Roth was a transient, living for about 3 months in an abandoned house in the 5th or 6th Street area. When the investigators came back to Gadsden, they talked to employees at Taco Bell and Jack's, who said that they remembered Roth coming in. Sometimes they gave food to the homeless man. Roth was sentenced to life in prison for the Texas case, but charges were never brought in connection with Allen's case. Rainbow City Detective Jordan McCartney said, "The suspect really admitted to it, but there was not any evidence to back up his stories, multiple stories. His stories changed many times. Roth told them that Allen made an advance toward him, upsetting him, and he went to his vehicle, got a baseball bat, and beat the man with it, leaving him still alive. But that was one of many stories Roth told investigators. He said he left Allen at the bird sanctuary, covering him with leaves. He said that he buried him. He claimed to have put the victim in the Bronco, drove to Texas, and pushed the vehicle in a river. But then he would also say that he drove the Bronco to Sheffield and abandoned it when it ran out of gas." Roth never gave a straight answer about what happened to Allen, so the mystery went on, and eventually the case went cold. Roth remained in prison until 2012, when he was moved to a nursing home because of failing health. For 39 years, the muddy waters of an Alabama river held a deep, dark secret. In January 2022, human remains found there were matched to Alan Livingston. The police are revealing what happened at the Coosa River. Phillips said, "Never seen anything like it. The missing vehicle was sitting between trees for 39 years. A YouTube diver, Chris Overstreet, working another missing persons case, found the submerged Bronco encased in mud and silt. And with help from the FBI dive team, in that mud, they found boots and clothes that Allen was last seen wearing." Phillips said, And ultimately, they found skeletal remains, an Alabama driver's license in pristine condition, a Goodyear ID card, and Social Security card, and some other personal effects. Captain Bobby Jackson said that they determined that they had no means to raise the vehicle, filled with silt up the windshield from the water. He said it would have come apart in their hands after decades underwater. The mystery appeared solved, so the Gadsden police called Alan's younger sister in Ohio and also confirmed the identity through tests with her DNA sample. Phillips said, "She was obviously glad. She will have some closure. But after 39 years, it has also brought back a lot of bad memories." 71-year-old Roth is near his end at a nursing home near San Antonio. He will never face charges in Alan's demise. Phillips said, "It is great to bring closure, not only to the family, but to the area and law enforcement officers still living that were part of this case." Analysis of a note written in 1984 has led the Pennsylvania police investigators to charge a man with ending a life. In June 1984, 25-year-old nurse's aide Maryann Bagenstose, her 2-year-old son, and a boarder all shared a home at 167 West Willow Road, Lancaster County in Pennsylvania. Maryann separated from her husband, Jerry Bagenstose, and he then moved out and went to stay with his parents. Maryann had been granted custody of their son, Jeremy, in April, and a formal custody hearing loomed on the horizon. Despite their split, Maryann and Jerry still spoke often, and he occasionally bought things for his estranged wife. Maryann's loved ones said that she looked forward to going with her estranged husband to trade in her car and buy a new one. Jerry later told the police that he arrived at the West Willow Road home on June 5th to pick up his wife and son, but that Maryann was not ready yet. He said that he took his son to a nearby park to feed the ducks for a while before returning to the house. When they got back, he said, Maryann was gone. He told the investigators that she had left a note, telling him she was walking to a Turkey Hill convenience store about a mile from her home. Maryann was never seen alive again. Her mother, Geraldine Ngongoro, told the reporters in interviews that she did not think her daughter would have walked to the store. Maryann had a slight limp from a car crash and needed to wear a lift in one shoe. Despite their plans for the day and the fact that all his wife's belongings remained at the home, Jerry never reported her missing. He told the authorities that he had thrown away her note, which was not found during an initial search of the property. Geraldine reported her daughter missing on June 7th after she could not reach her, whom she spoke to by phone each day. On June 8th, the day after the investigation into Maryann's disappearance began, a Pequea Township officer noticed something odd. The prosecutors said, the officer observed a piece of cardboard covering freshly dug dirt during a check of the garage. He lifted the cardboard and observed a digging area that measured approximately 3 feet by 5 feet. A search warrant was executed at the house on June 13th. At that time, the area of disturbed earth was dug up to reveal what resembled a grave, a 5-foot deep hole measuring about 3 feet by 6 feet. Maryann's body was not in the supposed grave, the authorities said. The detectives did find a crumpled up note inside a wooden nail keg in the living room. The note read, "Had to run a quick errand, be right back." The note was seized and kept in evidence storage at the Pennsylvania State Police's Lancaster post. On June 15th, 10 days after she vanished, Maryann did not appear at the custody hearing. Jerry was awarded custody of their son. By that point, he had already moved back into the home on West Willow Road, where the police officers spoke to him several times. The witnesses at the Turkey Hill store told the police they had not seen Maryann, who was a regular customer the day of her disappearance. Maintenance workers at the park, Jerry, said he had visited with his son, said that they did not recall seeing them or his truck that day. Jerry also had an unexcused absence from his job on June 5th. Despite the circumstantial evidence, Jerry denied involvement in his wife's disappearance and professed his belief that she was still alive. The investigators were unable to make a case against Jerry, who they allege gave inconsistent statements about a number of things. including how he received an unexplained injury to his left arm. He also gave inconsistent details of what the note from Maryann said, the reason he went to the house on June 5th, and why he dug a hole in the garage days after she disappeared. The case eventually went cold. Geraldine, Maryann's mother, passed away in 2016 before anyone could be held accountable for her daughter's end. According to the Lancaster County District Attorney Heather Adams, the Pennsylvania State Police investigators began reworking the case in late 2016. Their focus was the note seized at the Bagenstose home during the June 13, 1984 search. Adams said, investigators searched online databases to obtain public records and other documents containing the writing of the defendant. This initial gathering of data led to the execution of a search warrant at the same residence on September 20, 2022. Troopers focused their new search on the garage, where they once believed Maryann had been buried, but they also focused on items that contained samples of Jerry's handwriting. The handwriting samples were sent to the Pennsylvania State Police Bureau of Forensic Services, Harrisburg Regional Laboratory for analysis. The prosecutors said, the analysis compared handwriting contained on a note recovered by police on June 13, 1984, purportedly explaining her whereabouts, to the items seized on September 20, 2022. The findings in the report stated the note recovered by police in 1984 was written by Jerry Bagenstose. On December 22, 2022, 68-year-old Jerry was arrested at his home without incident. He was booked into the Lancaster County Prison, where he is being held without bail. He still lives in the home from which his wife disappeared. District Attorney Adams said in a statement that the arrest has been a long-awaited one. She said, "This begins the criminal process in a 38-year-old case, and we hope it brings relief to Maryann's family and friends. We will do everything we can to see that justice is done in this case." Adams said that the Bagenstose case, unlike many of the cold cases solved in recent years, does not revolve around DNA. Instead, it has been solved through decades of hard work and dedication by law enforcement, beginning with the Pequea Township Police Department and ending with the Pennsylvania State Police. She said it was their dedication to the pursuit of justice in this case and their willingness to devote resources to this investigation, combined with the review and analysis of the decades-long investigation and evidence compiled by attorneys in my office, that culminated in and led to this arrest. The prosecutors said, in 1985, Jerry told investigators that people had relayed to him they recently saw Maryann. The defendant never reported this information to police. Multiple notes and postcards sent to Jerry purportedly from Maryann were never relayed to the police by the defendant. Those postcards were sent to Jerry by the detectives and a private investigator on the case. Adams said that the move was designed to provoke something new in the case. Jerry never told the police he had received the cards, which were sent as early as September 1984 and as late as 1998. Prosecutors in the case want a former daycare worker to be able to testify at trial that Maryann said in June 1984 that if she did not come to the daycare again, Jerry ended my life. Barry Keller, who worked with Jerry, will also give his testimony. He told a state trooper the following, "I never told this to the police because no one ever asked me and I did not know what to say at the time. At the plant, we had tanks with acid in them. You could easily drop a body in the tank and it would completely dissolve. We would work in the tanks and they would eat our shoes right off. You need to realize this was a long time ago. There were no OSHA regulations. The tanks were just outside on the grounds. Jerry would have known all about the tanks. We would have to work on them at times." In May 2023, Jerry's bail was set at $925,000 and he was released after posting a bail bond. The Commonwealth filed a motion to revoke his bail and return him to county prison following the Pennsylvania Supreme Courts. Judge John Kuhn granted the motion, ordering Jerry to report to Lancaster County Prison on October 7, 2024. Jerry's trial was scheduled to start in October 2024, but was pushed back to March 24, 2025.